I'd like to welcome everybody here for the memorial services for Elwood Bryan Elliott. And before we get too deep into anything, just wanted to see and give everybody a fair chance. If you have one of these guys, I encourage you now to pull it out, put it on vibrate, turn it off, whatever it might take to make sure we're not having any music other than what's desired to be here. But we're here to honor the life of Elwood, and it was a blessing for me to sit down with the children and family to be able to learn about Elwood and his life. And I believe that we'll all be edified as we're here today. And as we take the great things that Elwood portrayed and lived by during his life, if we take those with us, I believe that we'll all be blessed. And that is the goal here today. So I thank you for being here. In the side of your programs, you're going to see the order of service, and we're just going to follow that right along. So we're going to start the life sketch. The life sketch is 3 parts. That is going to be given by Jesse, Elwood's sister, and Sam, his brother, and then Katie, daughter-in-law. And then they're going to be going over his childhood, his teen adult years, and his most recent years together. It's going to be a joint effort in that. And when they're done, then the boys are going to get up and speak, Dustin and Ethan. Now, when that's done, we're going to open the mic. I have a mic, and I'll come around with it. It'll be an open mic time where anybody that has an Elwood memory is sure welcome to share that. So you might be thinking of something that you could share during that time, and the only ask that we have is that it be from the heart, something brief, 1 to 2 minutes, and we appreciate your sharing of those memories at that time. When that's done, we'll go into a video tribute. And at that point, I'll get up and speak, and we'll go to that point.
So my brother liked to go by Elwood as he got older, but the part that I'm going to be speaking about is when he was a kid, and so he was Woody, and he was always Woody to me. Dang it, that was quick. Woody was my first best friend. And he was actually the earliest memory that I have. And it's a little bit embarrassing, but we're going to share it anyway. Because I remember this picture of Grandma Buppy's bed and this little dark-haired baby sitting on the bed. And I didn't really understand, but I knew that baby had taken my mommy away and I had to stay at Grandma's. And I wasn't super excited about that. And I was looking at him, and I do remember that. I mean, I was 2. And then I remember that he was crying. And so I'm not sure if I pinched him, if I punched him. I don't know. But Mom came running in, and then we got introduced because that was the first time I got to hold him. And so, yeah, he was my very first memory, and he had that little dark hair. And then about 2 weeks later, it all fell out, and it came back the blondest little towhead that you've ever seen for most of his childhood, and then it slowly started getting darker in his teenage years. We were only 2 years apart. We lived way out in the country on the farm. And we might not have started out perfectly, but very quickly after that, Woody became my little shadow, my partner in crime, and my first friend. We were clear out there at the ranch. We didn't have neighbors. There weren't neighbors to go see. It was just us. It was just us playing together, doing everything together, fighting together, hugging together, all the things. We played in the dirt. We played in the creek in the grove, around the trees, out in the orchards, anywhere that we could turn into an adventure. The grove became a favorite place for us. It's a little group of trees at the back of the farm, and our house was right next to those trees. And there was this almost magical at least to us at the time, entrance into the grove, because if you walked out of our backyard and into the horse pasture, and then you walked through the horse pasture, there was a bridge where the train would go across, and underneath that bridge, the creek out of the grove ran, and it kind of got a little fat spot right there underneath that bridge. And we would spend hours playing underneath that bridge, making mud pies, catching water skippers, daring each other to sit underneath there when the train went by. That was really dumb. But we had all these adventures there up in the grove, and we were farm kids in the truest sense. We were outside, we were curious, we were dirty, and we were usually experimenting with something that we probably shouldn't have been experimenting with. Woody was curious. He wanted to know how everything worked. And so one day, we were experimenting with the electric fence. And we thought we were pretty cool. We'd figured out like how conductivity worked, and we would take a big stick and touch the electric fence and see how much would come through. And we'd take a little stick and we'd take an apple, and then we'd bite the apple and we'd see if it like came through a little bit more, which it did. That was pretty fuzzy, that one, Well, by this point, out at the farm, we'd been joined by two more. Tony, our brother, and KJ. And Tony and KJ were only 6 weeks apart. And so they were kind of their own little, group. And sometimes they just really got on our nerves because we were doing grown-up things, like playing with electricity, and they were coming and bugging us and saying, "Can we play? Can we play? Can we play?" So we looked at each other, and I'm not sure whose idea it was first, and we said, "Sure, you can play. We have some special sticks up in the welding shop for you." So we walked up to the welding shop, we got them a couple sticks. We had our wooden sticks, and we're touching the fence, and we're like, "Okay, it's gonna be a little buzzy, you can't be a wimp." And so Tony and KJ, well, they touched the fence. And they definitely got shocked. They started crying and complaining. And Woody and I stood there with our sticks and we're like, "Well, clearly you guys are too wimpy to play with us. Go home." So maybe not our finest moment, but it does give a pretty accurate picture of our childhood. We were curious, we were mischievous, we were a little bit feral, and we were usually learning something the hard way. After Tony came along, and then later Sam, our family grew. But for a long time, Woody and I were still very much a team. We were also the two oldest in the cousin group. And all of us cousins grew up a little bit more like siblings. And so we were kind of the oldest of that whole group. And I ended up always being the one that was kind of organizing everybody and making sure that they were where they were. Nobody that knows me now can see that at all. But Woody was the one who was always making sure that the little kids were included, that nobody was getting their feelings hurt. In that whole group, he was kind of the caretaker. And a few of our cousins have shared memories with me as I've been preparing this. And their memories included Tony and KJ harassing them, which honestly sounds about right. But Woody always getting down on their level and just being tender with them. And that was who Woody was. He was just kind of there, and he was kind and funny and always willing to make room for everybody. We spent a few years in Burns and Hines over in Oregon while Dad was getting his electrical license. And that was a totally new world for us because we'd never lived in town. Now, mind you, Burns is like, 3,000 people? We thought we lived in the town. We were pretty excited because we could ride our bikes to the candy store. We'd go down and get penny candies. We could go to the pool. We had a pass at the pool, and in the summer times, we just spent all summer at the pool making up games and diving for things, and that was really cool. And just, the three of us, because Sam wasn't here yet, the three of us hanging out. Both Woody and Tony. story from Oregon that shows something really important about Woody, even as a kid. One day he was walking home from school, and a man in a van pulled over and asked him to get in. And kind of started asking him questions. And Woody had a feeling, and it's funny because all of us kids, we called it the creeps of whatever we were scared of. And he said, I just had the creeps. So he started to walk home, and the guy started to get out of his van and follow him. So Woody ran to our house. He knew there was neighbors, but he knew he was right behind him, and if he opened, if he knocked on the wrong door and nobody was there, he could just tell that something bad was going to happen. So, and he didn't want to show him where the key was, so instead he ran into the backyard and just hugged our white German Shepherd, Blanca. And the man got out of his van and came to the backyard, and Blanca definitely protected him and just about went over the fence at the man, and so he left. I always thought that was, I wouldn't have known what to do. It scared the heck out of me to hear that story. And Woody actually, even at that age, thought through logically, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this in that situation. And it obviously saved him from something that was probably pretty bad. So after we were in Oregon, we moved back to Emmett. We got to live near our great-grandma Ethel for a while, and that was really cool to watch Woody's relationship. He was named after our great-grandpa, her husband that had passed away, Grandpa Elwood, and he always had just a very special bond with Grandma Ethel, and so that was a neat time that we were able to live right next to her. He would go over and spend time with her, and there was just something really sweet about that relationship. Even as a boy, he had this ability to connect with people across generations. He could be funny and he could be wild, but he could also sit and listen and be thoughtful and kind with them. While we were living in that house near Grandma Ethel, our youngest brother Sam was born. By then, the family had grown from just Woody and me running around together to the four of us: Jessica, Woody, Tony, and Sam. Each new brother changed the shape of our little world, but Woody and I always kind of carried those early years of being the first two. Eventually, we moved back out to the ranch, and that's where we lived during Woody's teenage years. I wasn't going to tell this story. So while we lived out there, I started having a lot of problems with my nerves and some other things from playing the piano all the time. And it would just hurt. And I was 16, so I didn't realize that at some point your body just hurts, right? We don't know that when we're 16. And I was mad and I was angry, and sometimes it would just hurt at night, and I wasn't used to that yet. And I remember him hearing me cry. And he'd go put towels in the dryer and come wrap up my arms so that they didn't hurt. And that was just who Woody was. In school, Woody started to shine. He was incredibly smart, creative, funny, and quick. He had a beautiful voice, played trombone, participated in band, choir, theater, academic teams, gifted programs. His mind was always working, and he seemed equally comfortable on a stage, in a competition, or deep in some conversation about how the world worked. He was also friends with pretty much everybody in every friend group. He was that guy. He could move between all the circles in a way that not everybody can. Music kids, theater kids, academic kids, farm kids, popular kids, and the kids that didn't quite fit in anywhere. He was always watching out for those kids. He had a way of including people and making them feel like they had a place. I was lucky enough to share 1 year of high school with him, and during that year we did a ton of different clubs and things together, which I'm very grateful for those memories. We did mock trial, we did TSA, we did choir, we did band. As a freshman, he made honor choir with me, so that was really cool, and the school musical. That year I was actually the student director, and so that was cool and interesting to direct my own brother, because he wasn't quite sure if he liked that sometimes. But we did cast parties together, lots of the school activities, and that was just really cool that we had a lot of overlap that year together. He continued music and theater all the way through high school. At the time, we were doing really large musical productions. I mean, I think my senior year, Fiddler on the Roof had like 200 kids in it with all the extras and everything. They were massive. And by the time he was a senior, he played the lead in Oklahoma. The role fit him beautifully. He had the voice for it, he had the charisma for it, and the confidence to carry it off. So at the time, our teachers most often selected musicals based on the strongest voices, and I know that they really picked that for Woody that year, which was really cool. Woody also had the habit of liking all my friends. So he took one to prom, and then he sort of married one, but Sam will get into that. But at the time, when he was in about 6th grade, I was playing the piano for this girl that was going to sing at our 8th grade graduation, and her name was Sarah. And boy, Woody had it bad, even in 6th grade, because he'd come wait after school for us while we practiced in the auditorium. And one day I turned to Sarah and I said, you know, it would be really cool is if we were sister-in-laws someday. And she said that was the grossest thing she'd ever heard. But like I said, Sam will let you know how that turned out if you don't already know. But it was funny. I mean, even our friend groups and dating some of my friends and some of that kind of thing, it was a neat time for us to just spend time together. When I think of Woody as a child and a teenager, I think of it all together. That little dark-haired baby on Grandma's bed, who somehow turned into the blondest little towhead. The brother running wild with me through the dirt and the creek. The boy testing electric fences, always asking how everything worked. The kid that was smart enough to trust his instincts. The musician with a beautiful voice. And the cousin who made room for the little kids. So much of who Woody became was already there during those years. His curiosity, his humor, his passion, his intelligence, his tenderness, and his restless need to understand the world around him.
I can't promise I'm going to do as good as she did. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Woody's younger brother. Kind of the time frame I'm covering is when more or less we became friends. I mean, we were brothers. I was the little tiny guy and he was, the older brother, but definitely we became friends about the time he, got married, moved on, did a lot of that. So Woody finished school in '99 and stepped into adulthood exactly the way you'd expect him to. Full of curiosity, energy, a deep love for life, and if you knew him back then, you knew one thing right away. Music wasn't just something he liked, it was part of who he was. He played bass guitar in a band and put everything he had into making music, and music gave him joy. It was how he expressed himself and how he connected with people, honestly how he made life a little more fun for everyone around him. So in 2001, this part I was jealous about when I was a kid because I had the hots for Sarah when I was like 8. It was terrible. He stole her right from me. But anyways, in 2001, Woody married Sarah, and from that point on, everything he did had a little more purpose and a little more direction, and probably a little more accountability too at this point. We started out in Boise figuring out life together, like all newlyweds do, learning things like how to share space, how to compromise, and probably how to survive on a tight budget. Not long after, they moved into Grandma Bingham's old house in Emmett, down on Melrose, a place that became more than just a home for them. It became the center of their world, full of memories, laughter, and the beginning of the family Woody loved more than anything. In 2002, Dustin was born, and in 2005, Ethan followed. And if you want to know when Woody truly found his purpose, it was right then. Becoming a dad changed everything for him. His boys became his pride, his motivation, and honestly, probably his favorite topic of conversation. And if you ever talked to Woody for more than 5 minutes, there was a very good chance you were going to hear about something Dustin or Ethan had done. And you were going to hear about it like it was the greatest achievement in human history, because to him it was. Woody wasn't someone who ever stood still and had a burning desire for more somehow. In 2007, he packed up his family and moved to Pocatello to attend Idaho State. And that just sums him up, always wanting to grow, to learn, to become better. While he was there, he built friendships that lasted a lifetime, and of course, he found time for the things he loved: hunting, fishing, and even competitive fencing. Because apparently just being good at normal hobbies wasn't good enough for him. So in 2011, the family moved back to Meridian, where Woody continued building a life centered around the people who mattered most. And as boys grew, he didn't miss a thing. He showed up, he supported, he encouraged. He was the kind of dad who celebrated everything, big wins, small wins, and even the, hey, at least you tried moments. Whether it was sports, music, or martial arts, he was there every time, proud as ever. So Woody eventually became a real estate agent, which honestly fit him perfectly. He had this natural ability to connect with people. He was kind, genuine, and someone you could trust right away. But more importantly, that career gave him something he valued even more than success. It gave him time. Time with his family, time with his boys, and that's what mattered most to him. So I have a little story about when, so we happened to be buying our house when Woody was a realtor. And so we went and we looked at this house. We thought it was the one. We're across the street, so Alicia's sister and brother-in-law, they lived across the street, and we're over there talking. And somebody pulls in to go look at the house we just looked at, and I was upset. So, in true Woody fashion, he takes his shirt off, goes across the street, and started acting like a lunatic neighbor to make them go away. We didn't end up buying the house, but it was a good one. So, I mean, running around with his shirt off, it was pretty funny. Anyways, so eventually Woody began working at College of Western Idaho as a security guard. What started as a new opportunity quickly became something he truly loved. Through hard work, dedication, and his natural ability to connect with people, he worked his way up, found real purpose in his job. Woody especially loved the interaction with students, staff, and the many people he met along the way. He took pride in being someone others could rely on and respected the responsibility that came with his position. One of the things he enjoyed most was the opportunity to meet and interact with many important figures throughout his work. Experience he often appreciated and spoke with family and friends. Whether it was music, the outdoors, learning something new, or just spending time with the people he loved, he did it with wholeheartedly and fully.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie. I am Elwood's daughter-in-law, Dustin's wife. I'm not gonna lie, it does feel weird calling him Elwood or Woody, because to me he was Padre. Some of it just being just the four of us being around, and just everyone else, which was just me, Ethan, and Dustin pretty much living for just all by ourselves, just years, and so everybody else called him Padre, so I just followed suit. Another part was him becoming like another father to me. So throughout this time, I'll be calling him Padre this way. Padre was the glue that held us, all four of us, together. He played games with Dustin on the weekends while we were gone up to Pullman. He would tell us what's going on with him and Ethan as they played, tell us about the stupid things that happened at work, and give us advice when we needed it the most. telling us that people are stupid and that sometimes we just need to push through it or figure something out. The majority of the time he would just say just to weather out the storm until things get better, because usually most of the time they did. He would tell us that he was proud of us even when we felt like the world was ending, that when I felt like I didn't deserve to be in the program that I am now, he told me that I did, and I deserved it more than anything. When I said I applied for one of the most competitive internships ever out there for the thing I'm doing, he was already telling people that I've already gotten it, because in his eyes, I'm the only person that would really truly deserve it. Saying that even though I wasn't his biological kid, I was still his kid in some shape or form. That he was proud of me, even though I wasn't blood related, even though I couldn't ask a basic question without stuttering or jumbling through my words when I first met him. I mean, there was a first time where it was just the four of us, and he was asking, "Hey, what pizza do you want?" And I said, "Oh, just whatever everybody else wants." And he's like, "No, Katie, it's okay. Just tell us what you want." And I started having a mild panic attack, and he was mixed up, bewildered, and very confused, saying like, "I don't know why you're panicking about this. Seriously though, it's the deals. It is cheaper for everybody to get their own thing. There are deals. Don't panic. We're gonna get food and pay rent. You can have your own pizza, man." So I was a little bit shaky, but said, yeah. But he was patient even throughout while I was trying to get my confidence. Well, he did give me a bit of crap for not having any confidence, even though I should. He always made sure that I knew that he was proud of me, and he proud of Dustin and Ethan as well. That he loved his kids more than anything in the world, and he would do anything for them. Even when one of those kids, blew up the stove while making dinner for everyone. Yeah, we still don't know how I did that. We have theories. He also said that said kid, needed to still learn how to cook, because even when you make mistakes, you are still learning, and you are not perfect at everything that you do, because when you're learning, you are not the best. When we were all separated doing our things, he would still contact us through any shape or form, whether it was text or Discord, through our family Discord, telling us what was going on with his work with Ethan, or generally what he found interesting, giving daily updates about his baby owls at CWI, showing pictures of little gray puffballs with giant yellow eyes, talking about how one of the babies became his friend and started following him around during his rounds. How the baby owl started not coming down all of a sudden, and then he realized not because the baby owl didn't like him anymore, but because he wanted to protect his sister and didn't want to leave her side until she learned how to fly. When those baby owls finally got rescued, at his other job at U of I, a baby bunny came in its place that lived near the sewers, in which he gave the bunny chips as a show of friendship, which the bunny did accept his friendship, and the bunny was the only person that would ever come out and be near him. No one else got that chance. We cheered for him as loud as we could, saying, "That's my dad," when he graduated with his associates last spring from TWI. He graduated with 2 degrees and was currently working on 3 more, because they told him that just need 1 more class to meet those requirements. So he's like, "Oh, I'll take a class. 3 more degrees? Heck yeah." He also told us, according to BSU, that he had enough credits to get a PhD. He was always there for us, from going to Ethan's marching band and band concerts, to his plays, always helping with the YHE band, talking to Dustin about either making Pathfinder campaigns or making just games in general, and just even running them as well. He was always there to tell us that everything will be okay, and that you are learning, and that when you're learning, you're not your best, and also, mostly towards me, the threat of driving the mall, forcing one of us to dress up like Elsa with a sign that says, "I cannot let it go," when we are overly worried or obsessed about things, either in the future or things that we have no control over. Padre cared about his kids, and he would do anything for his family. He cared about animals, and he was kind to everyone that he met. Even when I was shy and nervous, he still treated me like family. Even though it's like there was a situation of like, he was just Dustin's girlfriend, I might not be permanent, he still treated me like I was family. I was essentially another kid to him. Even though I was only there for the last 7 years, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I've seen the highs and lows, and I'm happy that I was part of those 7.
If you can't tell, I don't use microphones very often. Well, I just want to say hello. My name's Dustin. I'm the eldest of Elwood's sons. I just want to first off say thank you everyone who came today. Anyone who is out there on YouTube, thank you as well. I wish this was under better circumstances. My last conversation with my father seemed inconsequential at the time. On Wednesday, April 29th of this year, I received a call from my father. In short, he was just told me that he got a call and got an in-person interview at CWI for desk position. This was after months of working to leave his current position and repeated rejections of said attempts. Midway through his excited ramblings, he stopped and said, Look, kid, I'm sorry. I know you're my son and all, but I just want to let you know you're like one of my best friends. I know that's weird, but it's true. I kind of stammered on with him and said, I get that. I kind of agree. And then in the background, he heard that I was talking with other people on a different phone. He said, I'm sorry, son. I didn't mean to bother you. You should get back to what you're doing. I tried to assure him that they could kick rocks for a while, but his last words to me were, nah, it's all good. We'll talk this Saturday. It will be good to get back to gaming for hours again with you. He passed away that night. And with him goes a father, brother, son, and a friend. When I think of my father, I think of a quote he always used to tell me when I was either sad or angry. I'm going to need you all to stay with me for this one because the origins are silly. As silly as it was from the TMNT movie from 1990. The context is simple. One of the sons, Raph, breaks down and yells, I lost my sai. He failed, to him, irreparably. But without a second passing, Splinter, his father, says, then it's gone. What has come to pass cannot be changed, and what has been lost won't magically return to us. It is gone. But that's okay, because my father truly believed that no matter where we are or where we start in any given moment, we give ourselves the power to change, to be better, to grow past what troubles us in the days that passed. And it starts with us accepting that perhaps our sai is gone. My father understood that we give ourselves the power to change. We just have to allow ourselves the grace. He would say if everyone took care of themselves first, then everyone would be taken care of. Advice that he himself would rarely practice. He was just that way. Through his words, those words ring no less true. How can a broken bridge support anyone after all? Regardless, my old man would say, it's when you lack others' judgment, when you find what kind of man you truly are. To him, it was the small things that truly determined your worth. When nobody was looking or expecting anything out of you. There are many things that, There are many things I know that many people here never got to see, nor need I speak of. But he did them because they were right. The funny thing was that when I was young, I didn't get it. See, my father never hid the fact that life would ultimately end. To begin is to eventually end. Now being the stubborn child that I was, I asked him, well, if it's all gonna end anyway, then why even try? If nothing holds any sort of value inherently, then why not give up? If we don't know what's gonna come, why does it matter? Well, in his typical fatherly way, he sat at the foot of my bed and thought, and took about a minute and responded, "Because we make it matter. We give purpose to our lives by making choices and choosing what truly makes us happy. Every good story, sadly, must come to an end. Once it ends, we can determine whether or not the story was a good one or not. Looking back on my father's life, I'd like to think that he had a good story. A young man who became a father and took care of his kids to the end. To me, that's a pretty good story. I'm glad I got to witness and be a part of his story. It wasn't a picture perfect or even pleasant at times, but he helped influence me, and I know each and every one of you. A man dies twice. Once when he ceases to be, and lastly when he is truly forgotten. If there's anything I can ask out of any of you, remember the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly. My old man wouldn't want us to wallow forever, and eventually we will return to a familiar or new norm. And when we do, I hope my father ultimately laid your lives better, even if it was painful in the process. I was glad in his final hours he told me he considered me his friend, because I was damn proud to think of him as mine too. Thank you.
Hello, I am Ethan. I am my father's second son and his youngest. My father is one of those people you just won't ever meet anyone like again. Writing this, I found myself trying to describe him by saying he was very kind, but at the same time, I would also say he was very mean. Or he was very thoughtful, but also at the same time, he was the most forgetful person I've ever met. With all the things he kind of was, there were two things that were constant about him. One, I would say he was a very sensitive man. And two, I would say he's the smartest person I've ever known. And sensitive sounds mean, but what I really mean is what he felt tenfold. And he made everyone know how he was feeling, whether that was good or bad, and that's possibly his best and simultaneously his worst trait. But that taught me to be in touch with myself and to be in touch with my feelings and to know how I feel. As for his smarts, he was always the first person I go to if I need to know something. Although I thought he was stupid because I inherited his trait of asking everyone else after he just told me the answer. But I valued his word more than anyone else. But his intelligence took him far. Including working a very confidential job that I will not talk about, but I will say he was really good at it, and it was going to be his career. And that was when his employer went up to him and said, "Hey, I need you to move across the country for work." And my father said, "No, I have 2 kids." And they said, "Well, maybe you should get your priorities straight." So my father said, "Okay, and he quit the next day. He gave up so many things for my brother and I, but he wanted to. Being a father was the thing he wanted to do most. He wanted to be present, and he was present. Somebody told me that at some point it is going to get quiet and all of this will pass and it's going to feel uncomfortable. And I think what hurts most about this is that my father was my quiet, and I think I was his too. Someone that I can relax around, and I was that to him as well. I talked to him the night of his passing. I had friends over, and we were just playing games, and I had everyone go home. He came home near the end with a bunch of food, and he went straight to his room because I was just hanging out with friends. So after my friends left, I went in his room and I was talking with him. And for a while I had been working on a car, so I was telling him my frustrations with this car and its stupid CVT transmission. And he was telling me about all the dumb people at his work. That was a constant. And I was leaving for the night. I was going to Boise. And so I told him, hey, good luck on your work stuff. I love you. I'll see you at some point. And he said, I love you too. Good luck with the car. And I left. Going through his stuff recently, these past few weeks, it's very clear that he wasn't a very materialistic person. I mean, he talked about things he wanted, but as for actual things he had for himself, it was disheartening to see that he just really didn't have a lot for himself. But I also know that that's not really what his value was in life. His value was people. My brother the other day told me about his experience learning to drive with him, and it lined up perfectly with my experience learning to drive with him. And I was really bad at driving. And I was making a turn and a car was coming, and he stopped the car and he yelled at me profusely for the next 25 minutes. And I thought it was cruel because I was like, I already feared for my life. I don't know why you're yelling at me. And he said, what if that was a kid or an old person or someone's dog? Everyone goes through life just wanting to get home and eat and sleep and to have a future. And what's awful is he no longer gets to have a future because he went home and he ate and he went to sleep. But he finally found a purpose for himself, and that was through trying to go to school to be a teacher and go into education. he never had something like that, and for so long. And he was so bright and bubbly about what was next. And he didn't have that for a long time. And now we will never know where that goes or where it would have gone. But looking back at that story with his old job, the one that he quit for my brother and I, he had made that decision, and he had that purpose in life. Life is a road with forks and decisions that we all take. And he took the path where it forked between himself and family, and he chose family. I wouldn't trade my father for the world, and I don't think my father would have traded my brother and I for the world either. He would choose us again and again, and if given a fourth time through life, again. So, he was tired. So, Father, you can rest now. You've done enough. And for the record, Dad, it is still your turn to do dishes. And off the record, it's not his turn. It's been mine for about 3 weeks now. But I love you, Dad. Rest easy.
Well, thank you, Jesse. Sometimes I wonder if the wavy or curly hair came from the fence, being a child. And then KJ, that really just explains a lot, really. Sam, pretty funny story you shared there about him taking his shirt off. I don't know if I'd do that for one of my brothers without a double dozen donut dare box. So I'm taking my shirt off unless there's some donuts in the mix there, so at least not now. Katie, thank you for sharing those thoughts and experiences with your father-in-law. Dustin, I couldn't help but think of the song, "They Were the Best of Friends," that you might hear when you watch The Fox and the Hound, when you were speaking. And Ethan, it's kind of a conundrum to be a very thoughtful and a most forgetful person all at once. And the love that you had for your father and that he had for you was evident as I sat with you guys the other day and what you shared here today. So thank you all very much. We have a few minutes we're going to take allow for people to share some of their own memories. Again, just brief, 1 to 2 minutes. And I can come to you with a cordless mic if you like, but if you bypass me and walk right up here, that is okay. And we've got a little bit of feedback on this mic. We might turn this volume down just a little bit, but I can come around with this mic right here if you'd like.
I got a phone call the other night from Ethan, and he said, "Aunt Brenda, would you like to start off telling memories?" I said, "No, but I'll do it anyway." So I just got a couple. The first thing that I remember about Woody being little is in the back of my husband's, on my car. I don't even know if we were married at the time. And he was harmonizing to a Billy Joel song, the longest time. And every time I hear that, like, even I would send him a text, and it's like, I'm listening to you in your little boy's voice. And I could just see him shaking his head, because when we talked about it, and rolling his eyes. But he truly had a remarkable ear and a remarkable voice at such a young age. And he carried that on for years. The other thing that I remember, and as a new mom with my firstborn child, and I have 5-year-old grandsons, so why I allowed this to happen, I will never know. But he carried my daughter, and she was probably just crawling, across his arms, and he would run around Grandma Elliott's house, kitchen, living room, flying her, and I just would cringe every time he'd get to a door or a wall, and she would laugh hysterically. She loved him. If I knew about 5-year-olds, like I know about my grandson's 5-year-olds, that would have never happened. But Woody loved little children. He always has, and I know that you boys were why he kept going. He loved you unconditionally. Now, my Uncle Mike, my husband, and the minute he heard that I was going to do this, he's like, you've got to tell this story. It's the best. When my sister, Aunt Barbie, was getting married, he was one of the little, I don't know if he was a ring bearer or what, but he was all duded up, and he was trying to get Uncle Tom's attention. So just bear with me and visualize Uncle Tom, little Woody. He'll always be little Woody to me. And he kept saying, Uncle Tom, Uncle Tom. And they were in the receiving line. And the next thing we knew is Uncle Tom collapsed to the chair. Little Woody had gotten his attention. So if you can just visualize the height difference and the little boy trying to get his attention, he brought him literally to his knees and could see him eye to eye. Not that Uncle Tom could talk or breathe, but Woody got his attention. And that was just something that was always a very memorable thing that he did unintentionally, whether it was good or not. But he had so many good memories. I have one other one to share from my youngest son, Brian. He remembered when that Woody came to visit us when we lived on the coast, and he said, it was the coolest week he spent with us. Kyle and I had been trying for over a year to get through some Star Wars level game, and Woody did it for us in a day. That was Woody. Love him, we'll miss him. He will always be in my heart, and he will always be in yours.
Hi, my name is Nathan. I was Woody's friend for many years. My first memory of Woody was when I was working in the control center at Hewlett-Packard, and a coworker said, Woody's back. He used to work out here before he started. I'm going to call him and say hi. The coworker picked up the phone and rang Woody, who was working the front desk at customer service. The coworker had a big cheesy grin, and he said, Morning, Wood. The grin dissolved, and his face went ashen. Yeah, sorry, I won't, okay, the call disconnected, and he put the phone back onto the receiver, looked at me and said, whoa, never say morning wood to Woody. Turned out you could say morning wood to Woody. Woody had the best sense of humor and would let a lame joke like that roll off his back and would return fire with an even better, lamer one. Woody just did not like this guy and found the perfect opportunity to professionally put him in his place. He had read him the riot act about keeping it professional and appropriate at work, safely and soundly establishing that he and this guy were not friends on the very first morning back on the job. Fortunately for me, Woody replaced this guy in the control center, and we became fast friends. We would spend hours at work talking about our shared hobbies and making each other laugh. Then get off work and spend hours doing those hobbies together and making each other laugh more. And years later, I got the wonderful experience of his sons joining us in those hobbies and laughs. Our last campaign, expertly run by Dustin, was by far the most fun I'd ever played. The most fun I'd had playing the game. I will forever cherish my time spent with Woody. He was one of a kind, and my life is richer for having had him in it.
Hello, I'm Greg Goodell. The other night, Ethan got a hold of me, and he asked me to speak here to break the ice just a little bit and share a couple memories, and I started wondering which ones would be appropriate to share. For those of you who don't know me, Woody and I have been friends since high school, actually junior high, and he taught me how to be human. It's very important, and he never let me forget that. And we would spend many hours doing things that we shouldn't be doing. We were probably each other's best bad influence. I think each of our sets of parents said such, at least at one time. And as I sit and I think about my dear friend, we were inseparable for years. And where will I find him? Well, in the Emmett Chinese Cafe, where we would cut class and go and spend our money that we shouldn't have been spending. On a stage where we would play music together. And I'll still remember the day when he told me that he couldn't play in the band anymore because of you boys. And he sacrificed everything. He'd do anything for you boys. I'm going to keep it very brief. He was one of my dearest, best friends in the whole world. And he will be sorely missed. But I see him right here in front of me. You are his legacy. He will live through you. Thank you.
Anyone else? We got time for one or two more, and you can come up to the mic or I can come to you.
Much like Greg before me, I was friends with Woody all throughout high school. I don't know if we were each other's worst influence. More along the lines, we were kind of kindred spirits that were nerds together quite a bit. Greg was a nerd too. He's just too cool to admit it. Anyways, I can still remember all the good times. Woody was one of my friends, had a car. I did not. So he ended up carting me everywhere on treasure hunts over to various bookstores in Boise, Ontario, hanging out at all the different restaurants, cutting entirely too much class. So yeah, we might have been each other's worst influence there. But yeah, I still just have 4 years is an incredibly short period of time to know somebody, and yet it can feel so long when you pack in so many memories of that person. And I didn't know Woody as an adult. We just slowly drifted apart over time. And it's hard. He contacted me a few years ago saying, hey, we should get together again. And it just makes me realize that, hey, if someone reaches out saying we should hang out sometime soon, set a date, because kicking the can down the road oftentimes can lead to missed opportunities. Thank you. And Woody, I'm still sorry for saving over your 69-hour gameplay of that one RPG on your Sega Saturn. Sorry for all the wasted time.
That is absolutely unforgivable. We'll take one more if we have a hand here in the next couple of seconds.
Sorry if my notes sound stuffy. I've been crying. Hello, I'm Karina. I'm Ethan's girlfriend. I cannot look at you guys. You're going to make me cry. This story comes from when me and Ethan first started dating. Ethan told me one day, he goes, hey, do you want to go out to a diner for my dad's birthday? And I go, okay, sure. And we had just started dating. So I was like, oh, yeah, sure, okay. And we get to the diner, and I think me and Ethan were talking about the absolute most like foul line of joking we've ever had in our lives. And I remember his dad looking at me and going, oh, you guys are grossly perfect for each other. And then it was just so much fun to sit there and joke, and I think I remember the first time I met him just thinking, wow, that is the coolest dad I've ever met in my life. But that's just exactly who he is, so that's it.
I can't think of a better person to segue for us into the video tribute. Karina actually is the one who put this together for us, so we're going to go ahead and enjoy that at this time.
On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces and knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind my saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice. So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light, and the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away, knowing what to keep. 'Cause every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out his cigarette, faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even. But in his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. You got to know when to hold 'em, when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the dealing's done, you got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the deal is done.
What you're doing to me, this MTV is not for free. It's so PC, it's killing me. So desperately I'll sing the other love. Sure, but I'm so raging, hating, pain, and fear itself. And I can't keep these feelings on the shelf. I've tried, well, no doubt I lied. Could be financial suicide, but I got too much pride inside. You hide or slide, I'll do as I'll decide and let it ride until I die. And only then shall I abide this ride and catch little tunes of 50-minute ditties. I wanna bust all your balloons, I wanna burn all of your cities to the ground. I will not mess around unless I play. And hey, I will go on all day. Hear what I say, I have a prayer to pray. That's really all this was. When I'm feeling stuck in the about, I don't rely on luck because the heart brings back. I ain't telling you no lie.
that you have the most beautiful face? Do you realize we're floating in space? Do you realize that happiness makes you cry? Do you realize that everyone you know someday will die? And instead of saying all of your goodbyes, let them know you realize that life goes fast. It's hard to make the good things last. You realize the sun doesn't go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning round. Do you that everyone you know someday will die? And instead of saying all of your goodbyes, let them know you realize that life goes fast. It's hard to make the good things last. You realize the sun doesn't go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning round. Do you realize that you have the most beautiful face? Do you realize?
I'll be brief here. I'd like to thank all of those who have shared their stories and their memories, and I do appreciate the video and all the pictures that take us back to those moments that we will never forget. There's something deeply moving about listening to the way that a family describes someone that they love. Today, we've heard Elwood's intelligence, his humor, his passion, his curiosity, his resilience, and above all, his love for his boys. We've heard about someone who wrestled honestly with life's biggest questions, someone who wanted to understand the world deeply and live authentically within it. One thing that especially has stayed with me as I visited with the family and here today is that Elwood said he could not believe in God, in a God who would judge a person only by outward belief while ignoring the goodness of their heart and the way that they lived their life. He believed that if there is a God worth following, that God would care deeply about how we treat one another, about our sincerity, about our efforts to become better people. And that thought process, in conjunction with him attending a philosophy class, I think it was, is kind of what led Elwood toward his current philosophy himself. And in an effort to honor that and to honor the faith in which he was brought up with, the family has asked me to be here today to offer the last message here. There is a scripture that says, "The Lord will judge all men according to their works, according to the desire of their hearts." I think Elwood cared very much about the desires of the heart as I sat and talked with his boys. He cared about sincerity. He cared about growth. He cared about becoming. He cared about trying to leave life a little better than we find it. His family shared another thought that meant a great deal to him. The idea that perhaps part of our responsibility in this life is to help create a little more heaven here on earth. Through kindness, through learning, through planting trees, through humor, through making space for people, through loving our families well. And in many ways, that is exactly the life that we have heard about here today. Not a perfect life, not one of us is perfect, but a real one, a thoughtful one, a searching one, a deeply human one. Elwood clearly understood something important, that life is precious because it is limited, and because we do not know exactly what comes, he didn't know exactly what comes after this life. What we do here matters, and it matters immensely. The love we give matters. The memories we create matters. The people we lift matters. And his greatest love was his sons, Dustin and Ethan. I sense that he was very proud of you too. Everyone who has spoken about him makes that unmistakably clear, as we heard here today. You were at the center of his hopes, his efforts, and his heart. Everything changed with him when you came into this world. The love that a parent has for their children does not simply disappear. It remains woven into who you are, in your memories, your mannerisms, your values, your laughter, your strength, and the countless small things that will continue to remind you of him throughout the rest of your lives. Grief is real. It is difficult because we love deep. And today is painful because Elwood truly mattered. But today is also a reminder that a life does not have to be perfect to be meaningful. A person does not have to have every answer to leave goodness behind them. Sometimes the greatest legacy a person leaves is that they made others feel seen, welcomed, loved, challenged to grow, or encouraged to keep on going. That kind of influence continues because of Woody, because of Elwood. Dustin, you referenced stories. Does this story end, you said, or does this story continue? Well, just as with any good book, I might propose to us that at the end of it, there is a part that says, "To be continued." And I truly believe that. As we leave here today, maybe one of the best ways we can honor Elwood, or Woody, as most of the people here who affectionately knew him growing up refer to him, is by doing exactly what he hoped for. Gather, remember the good, laugh loudly, tell stories, love our people well, and try. In whatever small ways we can, try. Try to leave this world a little kinder, wiser, and more human than we found it. And perhaps this is one of the closest things to heaven we can give each other. Just a little reminder for everybody, you're all invited to go to the ranch, the family ranch there at 2850, and it's at the bottom right of your program there, 2850 North Plaza Road, where there's food and memories and laughter, and what Elwood would really want is for you to celebrate the life that he lived. With this, we'll go ahead and end with a closing prayer. And when that is done, the boys just asked me to let everybody dismiss themselves. So there's not going to be any formal dismissal. We'll just start a little bit of music, and you guys feel free to dismiss yourselves as you see fit. The food should be waiting for you at 5 o'clock. So just know that there's food waiting for you. At this time, we'll go ahead and close with a prayer by Elwood's dad, Brian.
Just wanted to say you can come out sooner than 5 if you want to sit around and talk and whatever. Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this day with gratitude in our hearts for having known Elwood, being part of his life, and he part of ours. Father, we know that this life has ups and downs, and we don't know all the reasons for the things that happen to us, but you have given us life. We need to take the life which we have and try to be better, try to withstand those things that are difficult, and enjoy those things of joy that do come with family and friends. Father, we ask you to take Woody in thy care for him, and teach him, and us also as we go through this life. Has been brought up before, help us all to be more kind one with another, to try to accept and understand those who don't have exactly the same thoughts and beliefs as we do, and have common courtesy one with another. Help us to be better people, we pray. And we ask these things this day in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.